names and affiliation in the chat and just let us know what brings you here today. So I think with that next slide. So real quick, what is Sustainable San Mateo County? We are a local nonprofit. We've been around for over 3 decades now. And our whole vision is a sustainable future for all here in our county and beyond. And I think one of the innovative, keys of our organization is that from the get-go, we've been promoting a systems approach to sustainability, meaning that we really believe that the economy, social equity, and a healthy and green environment need to work hand in hand in order to achieve true sustainability. And here you can see our web page. It's sustainablesanmateo.org. So those of you who don't know us, I would definitely encourage you to go and check out our website. Next, please. So we have a few programs. We each year dive into a specific topic. That's our indicators report. And we provide policy recommendations, insightful data, and so forth. Then we have an annual awards program. We're actually having our 24th annual awards celebration next week. We are sold out, but I would encourage you to please get in touch with us if you're interested in attending, because we may have a few seats that will become available. So definitely get in touch with us. It's the 24th year that we are having that. We're expecting 300 attendees. As I said, I mean, we are sold off. And it's just a joy because what we do at these awards is we highlight hope and the incredible achievements of our sustainability champions throughout the county. And then the happy hours, so those are regular gatherings and we try to take a deep dive. They're designed to be very highly interactive. So we want to have a real dialogue between our attendees and the speakers, and really hope that it spurs innovation and that for a lot of
Christine, we lost you again. You're frozen.
Okay, so hi everybody.
Hi. Hey, Kirsten. Hello, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yes. Perfect. Yeah, so I was just going to say sustainability dashboard. That's the performance in terms of sustainability progress of the county and the city. So check our website. We have some really insightful data there. And last but not least, the Sustainability Ideas Bank, which is a compilation of solutions, because that's true, we have a lot to do in regard to sustainability, but the solutions are out there and we just need to implement them and accelerate them. So next, please. Just a quick peek of our celebration next week. As I mentioned, so that's going to happen on March 30th from 5:30 to 8:30. Check our website for more information. And I also did want to give a shout out to Sarah Hubbard, one of our All-Stars volunteers with us here tonight. She's been working really hard on an online auction we are having, and what you see on the right-hand side is some of very fun auction items. You can even win a hike with Kirsten Keith, who is going to be our EMC tonight. So next, please. I also wanted to briefly mention another really cool event that we are going to have on Earth Day month on April 21st from 5 to 6 p.m. It's a virtual event, and this one is geared for our youth for climate policy. So hopefully you and or perhaps you have like some young teenagers that would like to learn more about how to influence local government in regard to climate change and other sustainability issues. So that would be the place for them to go. All right, so next, please. So our happy hours are free, but of course, I mean, we're a nonprofit, so if at all possible, we appreciate your support. You can see the website here. Next, please. And the happy hour team. So you see Kirsten Keith is our board vice chair and our liaison with the happy hours. She's going to lead the discussion and moderate the event tonight. And then I wanted to give some shout outs to Leanne, Terry, Jill, and also Sheila and Sarah, who are here with us tonight and have worked hard and helped with this happy hour. So, all right, I think with that, I would like to pass it on to you, Leanne, for trivia. Next, please.
Okay, our famous trivia. The way to answer is either to hold up your fingers for A, B, C, D, or put it in the chat. And here we go. Are you ready? Next slide. Oh, all right. What is the #1 problem we see at the Fix-It Clinic? Speaker. So A, vacuum cleaner suction is poor. B, the toaster won't stay down. I hate that. C, the CD, DVD, or Blu-ray player won't play discs. That's pretty sad. Or D, the hairdryer stopped working. All right. Let's see, we got some B's. B's, a lot of B's, A's. Okay. All right. We're a little bit spread out here over different ones. So let's go to the next slide. And the answer is C. CD, DVD, or Blu-ray players won't play discs. It just becomes a doorstop. So anyway, on to the next question. Okay, question #2. When is San Mateo County sole landfill, Ox Mountain, expected to reach capacity? This is pretty scary, but A, in less than 5 years, B, in about 11 to 20 years, also scary, or C, in 30 years. All right, I see a lot of pessimistic people here. A, B, C, there we go. All right, so let's find out the answer. On to the next slide. It's B, in about 11 to 20 years. So 2034, right around the corner, something to think about. All right, thank you.
All right, so I think we are ready to get rolling. And Kirsten, if you would please introduce Peter, our first speaker.
Hi there, everyone. Great. Hi, Christine and everybody. Thanks for joining us tonight. And Peter, thank you for being here. Peter's the founder of Fix-It Clinic, which conveys critical thinking and troubleshooting skills through in-person community repair events around the US and globally. And nearly 800 Fix-It Clinic events have been hosted at libraries, elementary schools, secondary schools, high schools, lots of schools. Peter's a leading practitioner in lean innovation, applying agile methods from software development to hardware and durable goods. So we are so happy to have you here, Peter, and I'm going to just transfer it on to you.
So folks, thank you for having me. I'm here live at the Redwood City Library where we have a Fix-It Clinic starting at 6:30. So after this Zoom, if you want to pop over and say hi, we'll be here till 8:30. Although if you're going to bring something you want us to look at, show up about 8 or so. I'm going to share my screen. If that's the one. Okay, and let's go. So we've all had this happen where something that we have breaks. And I want you to keep a mental image of the image on the right of this iron that's been taken apart. Because if you think about what it would take to take those constituent parts, there's different types of plastics, there's the metals, there's the electronics, and somehow make those inputs again to another input stream for manufacturing that would allow them to be reconstituted at the same level of integration that they had as the iron they once were. We don't know how to do that in our society yet. We're very good at making things, designing them for manufacturing. We're not very good at demanufacturing them. And so we need to think about that going forward. And there's also all the embodied energy that's caught up in what it took to make that iron into an iron in the first place, and then what it's going to take to ever take those parts. I mean, it's very hard to put Humpty Dumpty back together again. So I think it's incumbent on us at this point in civilization to keep things at their highest utility possible for as long as possible. That iron needs to remain an iron. So it's that spirit with which we hold Fix-It clinics. What we do is we basically put out tools, shared tools. We invite the general public in with their broken stuff, and we let them have at it. And then we have other people who are a little more experienced, their neighbors. We call them Fix-It coaches, who help and coach them through the disassembly and troubleshooting and hopefully repair their items. So, it's really not about fixing stuff. It's really more about conveying critical thinking and troubleshooting skills that are going to be also critical going forward in our society. Basically, it's in some ways the repair is just a serendipitous side effect of the process. It's all hands on deck, roll up your shirt sleeves. Everybody's helping everybody else out at an ideal Fix-It clinic. The role of participant and Fix-It coach blurs, and everyone's just helping everybody else out. It's apolitical, non-denominational, non-sectarian, bipartisan. Everybody's got broken stuff. Everybody can relate to having stuff, to fix. We celebrate every repair because we're saving the planet one toaster at a time. And we empower and want people to affect their own repairs. We're about teaching people how to fish, not handing them fish. Because when the thing starts working again and they fixed it, that empowerment, that sense of joy, we don't want to deny anybody that feeling. During the pandemic, there was no repair events around the world going on, so we migrated to Zoom. So we had repairs from around the world, and we've incorporated that into our in-person programming now. So basically, San Mateo County residents can have both the benefit of repair expertise from around the world, and they can share their expertise with people from around the world. Very quickly from the upper left to the lower right, Northern New Mexico, Palestine, Scotland, Paris, France, Belmont, Massachusetts, Berkeley, California, London, England, and Melbourne, Australia. Sandeep got up at 4:30 in the morning, his time in Melbourne, to get help with his sewing machine. Now that we've returned from the pandemic, these high schoolers, they wanted to fix not just for themselves and their friends, but for their families, for their teachers, for the school itself. And so we equip them. We have these programs where we equip both libraries and individuals with toolkits. So like the toolkit on the right is actually the toolkit that's here in the Redwood City right now, Redwood City Library right now. And we have specialized kits like this Fix Your Phone kit that's at the South San Francisco Library. We gave those high schoolers this rudimentary set of troubleshooting and disassembly tools. So what you're looking at here is about $150 worth of tools. It was $50 worth for the boxes alone, if I remember correctly. And we can back them up on Discord. So even if they don't know how to repair, they get into trouble, we have on Discord, for those of you who don't know, Discord is a gaming platform that's very popular with young adults and teens. And we have it set up now so that there's basically over 500 expert repairers from around the world available at any time to help somebody with a local repair. So this is something that San Mateo residents can avail themselves of now. Even if you don't come into a Fix-It clinic itself that's happening in San Mateo County, you can still get on Discord and start to get help. And then when you get stuck, then bring it to the Fix-It clinic. But we can do repair asynchronously all the time now. This is a group of high schoolers at Irvington High School in Fremont, California, who fixed this KitchenAid mixer for the local community food bank. They also fixed this loudspeaker system for the San Juan Angel Library. I'm big on Chromebooks right now because school systems bought these by the tens of thousands during the pandemic to support distance learning. And they all have this automatic update expiry date. And when they do that, the school systems can no longer use them because they can't be enrolled in Google's enterprise system. But they can be modified and then they can become general purpose computers, but nobody thinks to do that. And so I'm really trying to encourage the school systems to, if they're not going to use them anymore in Google system, at least let's unlock them so that we can give them to this graduating seniors, or give them to kids to take home for the summer, or let's give them to the underprivileged in our community. You know, being part of the digital, our digital, increasingly digital world is also important at this point. Okay, why do we need these rights to repair? Well, even something as simple as replacing a battery in a phone, the phone company put special screws on the outside of the phone, proprietary screws, pentalobe screws, so that it was difficult to get in the phone itself. And what the impact of that, as you guys may know, is we're having all of these lithium-ion battery fires inside of municipal reclamation facilities or in garbage trucks. It doesn't take a lot. The battery gets damaged and it goes to thermal runaway. And then you end up with something like this, a literal dumpster fire. There's also more and more of our work that's involved in digital literacy, digital equity, digital inclusion. Because for these people, like, it's one thing if her family photos are on that laptop, but for both of them, if their access to healthcare or their access to finance, to banking is on that device and the device goes south, things can cascade out of control really quickly. So we need to think more and more things. It's getting harder to repair because more and more things are a combination of hardware and embedded software. And an example of that specific to this is the latest versions of the phone company's phones have internal components that are serialized and mated to that specific instance of the phone. So it means that even if you went to the Apple store today, bought 2 brand new iPhone 14s, opened them up, took the same part from each and swapped them, neither one, and put the phones back together, neither phone would work. And so nobody can provide parts for these phones except for Apple at this point. And so it totally precludes any opportunity for third-party repair, or let's say you had a broken phone, you want to harvest a part from to put in the working in another phone, can't do it any longer. So there's a sense of repair being a militant or revolutionary act, but really it's about being curious about the world around us, and certainly the things that we rely on. So that whether you're 16 or 60, not only should you be able to repair your own phone, but it should be easy to do it. So that we have less of this kind of mindless product churn going on and more of this going on. I mean, she's self-actualized, she's inquisitive, she's empowered, she's determined, she's fearless. She's all the things we want for ourselves in our shared future. And with that, I'm over. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Peter.
Yeah, thank you very much. And I know we'll come back to questions after we hear from all of our speakers. So thanks a lot, Peter. And our next speaker is going to be Lillian Clark. And Lillian is an Office of Sustainability Program Manager for the County of San Mateo. She has over 25 years in the solid waste and recycling field. And she takes an active role in special district areas, providing technical, administrative, and outreach and education efforts, facilitating resource conservation topics throughout the unincorporated areas of San Mateo County. She is a graduate of San Jose State in both environmental studies and industrial technology. So Lillian, take it away. Thank you for being here with us this evening.
Sure. And I also want to mention that some 25 years ago, I met you guys in Marcia Pagel's living room. So I should say that our program and your program has connected for a lot of years now.
Decades, all right.
So on to the first slide. Yeah. Yeah, go back one. Go back to the mission. There we are. Oh, go back one more. You're on the end of the slide.
Here,
Nope. Okay. Click down.
down again.
There we go.
Okay.
So this is, as many of you may remember, we used to be part of the Department of Public Works, and then we moved into, and we branded ourselves RecycleWorks, and now we're part of the Office of Sustainability. As part of the Office of Sustainability, our mission statement is we are committed to building a sustainable community that fulfills the needs of the present and the future. Next slide, please. The programs we focus on are climate change initiatives, energy and water conservation, waste reduction programs, and livable community initiatives. Next slide. And because today's talk is about zero waste, I thought I'd take it from a historical perspective to kind of show you where we began. In 2015, the United States Conference of Mayors at their 83rd annual meeting recognized the concept of zero waste, and it goes beyond recycling and composting at the end of a product's life cycle to encompass the entire life cycle of a product. And then materials management through zero waste can begin to shift the fiscal burden of waste and empower industries to embrace resource responsibility by rewarding stewardship through purchasing and economic development incentives. And then the United States Conference of Mayors actively supports a system where producers minimize waste during product design and take responsibility for the reuse or recycling of these used products. And just as a reminder, this was passed in 2015. And here we are today in 2023, and Peter's still talking about how we could do better with this. Next slide. Some of the resolutions our board has passed. In 2008, the county passed the Green Building Ordinance, which kind of incorporated using recycled products. It's now a state law. It's been replaced with the Cal Green Code. In 2015, the county passed a resolution prohibiting the single use of carryout bags, and now it's a state law. In 2020, we are regulating the use of disposable food serviceware by food facilities to align with the new state laws. And I should let you know that we actually passed something much sooner. It was earlier for county facilities where we weren't allowed to bring water. We were supposed to have reusable water bottles, and we were supposed to limit our plastics use. In 2022, large food generating entities such as supermarkets, restaurants are required by law to arrange for the recovery of their surplus food for redistribution. And that is primarily due to SB 1383, which I'm sure Mia will talk about in her presentation on where we are with waste today. Next slide. I wanted to go back again to take a look at where we were and where we are. In 1970s, that's kind of when the 3 R's began. So the origin of the phrase reduce, reuse, recycle is often debated, but it can be traced back to the underlying movement of becoming environmentally conscious in the 1970s. Gaylord Nelson, the US Senator from Wisconsin, listened to the people and decided to bring the nation together for our first Earth Day, April 22nd, 1970. This historic day ultimately led to the Environmental Protection Agency being created the same year. And in 1976, Congress passed the Resource Conservation Recovery Act to increase recycling and conservation efforts as waste became a bigger problem. It is that's where this slogan, reduce, reuse, recycle, was born during that time. And then today, we now have 6 R's. And the 6 R's are refuse, reduce, reuse, recycle, rot, repair. And of course, we talked about repair. So refuse is just say no, prevent unnecessary waste from coming into your life. Reduce is get clear about what you actually need to cut down on the number of products you use and buy. Reuse, a definition of reuse is simple: to use again, give new life to old products that can still have some utility, donate to your Goodwills or any other nonprofit, or, give them to your family members or coworkers. Recycle is really kind of the 4th R now. That's separating your garbage into things such as paper, plastic, glass, electronics, organic material. Rot, of course, is compost. Use your carts or compost in your backyard. In the Office of Sustainability, we have classes to teach you how to home compost. We're still doing that out in the community, and we're actually doing them via Zoom. So if you want to learn how to home compost, be sure to look at our website and sign up for one of our classes. And then, of course, repair. We started getting involved with the Fix-It Clinic. And so if something is broken, you should first consider repairing it instead of replacing it with a new product. And of course, I'm going to put a shout out for Peter and bring your item to the Fix-It Clinic. And now he says he's online too. So that's even better. So if you have any questions, I'm sure I'll address it at the end. So that's kind of where we are with zero waste.
Wonderful. Thank you, Lillian. I appreciate your presentation for all of us and food for thought. And then our final speaker who we'll hear from this evening is Mia Rossi, and then we'll have questions after. And well, we actually might have a surprise speaker too. So Mia Rossi is the Waste Zero Manager at Recology San Mateo County and leads a team of 6 dedicated Waste Zero specialists who provide outreach and education in the commercial sector, focusing on the importance of proper diversion, state legislation, and the Waste Zero hierarchy. I know you can see here on the screen all the things I'm reading, so I'll just let you know that Mia graduated from the Fashion Institute of Design and Merchandising in San Francisco, has a degree in interior design with an emphasis on green design, and she uses this knowledge and her dedication to preserving the environment to help us all live a better life. And so, Mia, I'd love to give this to you now.
Thanks, Christine, and thank you, Sustainable San Mateo County, for giving me the opportunity to discuss today on the race to zero waste. It's a catchy title, but a vital conversation that we need to continue to have as we work our way through this climate crisis that we're in. And it's something very important to us here at Recology, as it's our mission to see a world without waste. I'm going to stick with topics that we have, or the options that we have that are within our control that will have a positive impact on the environment. I know for myself, I can tend to get anxiety when we think about it, but it's all about sticking to the ways that we can change our own behavior that will have that positive impact on the environment. So next slide, please. I think it's important to start with where our roots began. Recology is a centennial company and has been in the industry for over 100 years. Our original scavengers were recycling and repurposing way before it was fashionable or mandated. They were repurposing glass bottles, jars, wood, even food scraps were brought back as food for pigs. So little did they know that they were really setting the foundation of the basis of our company today. The other thread of our company is employee ownership. We are the largest employee-owned company in the industry, and it allows our employee owners to have a direct success in the company. Next slide, please. So here we are in the modern day. This is part of our Recology San Mateo County family, standing in front of an EV collection truck, where we started originally with horse and wagon. We are now working hard and piloting EV collection trucks. This one was taken a few years ago. We just wrapped up another one. We are hoping that we can, implement an EV truck, EV fleet soon, but we're finding the technology is just not quite there yet. But we'll continue to work with our manufacturers to get us to a point where we can implement an EV fleet. So next slide, please. So single stream recycling. We offer a commingled recycling program. It's really important to familiarize yourself with what is accepted in the recycling and what's not accepted in the recycling. When we place materials that don't belong, it really degrades the quality of the product and the integrity of the material. So it's really important to familiarize yourself, empower yourself, so that way you can inspire others. What we do accept is clean paper and cardboard, plastic containers, plastic tubs and jugs that are numbered 1, 2, and 5, and then metal, aluminum, and glass bottles and jars. There's a lot of confusion when it comes to plastic. And so hopefully we can kind of clear some of that up here today. So next slide, please. So common tricky plastics, plastic bags, plastic wrap, plastic packaging, all of this kind of falls under the umbrella of plastic film or flimsy plastic. If it's something that you can kind of crumple up in your hand, that does not belong into the recycling. It's extremely problematic when going into the recycling program, as it gets stuck in the trucks and jams up the machinery. As you can imagine, the material is very light as well, so it's difficult to capture. You can take plastic bags back to the grocery store. They ask for it, to bundle that plastic film, keep it clean, and take it back in those drop-off locations that are usually at the front of the store. Honestly, it's more important to avoid this type of material, as the recyclability of it is low quality. It's very thin type of material, and to be able to be remanufactured into another product, it ultimately can get created into another product that will only end up in the landfill once it's reached its useful life. So it's best to avoid that material or reuse it. Black plastic, due to the optical sorters at the material recovery facility, or the MRF, it cannot be recognized. I've also learned along the way that black plastic, due to the dye and the resin, it will kind of contaminate the other colors of plastic, and therefore the markets just don't want it. So even though this plastic may have a recycling symbol or the chasing arrows, it cannot go into the blue bin at the curb. Next slide, please. So let's talk a little bit about the recycling symbol. This term is misleading. It really should be referred to as the chasing arrows. And the number and the inside will indicate the type of resin that that type of plastic is. So your ones will be your PET, twos would be your HDPET. It's really the code to the remanufacturers in that process. So labeling it as the recycling symbol is misleading, and no, that wasn't done wasn't done by accident. The plastic industry and the petrochemical industry put a lot behind that marketing to give the illusion to consumers that this product can be recycled. So don't let it trick you, all those soft plastics, and just because you see that those chasing arrows doesn't mean that that plastic material is recyclable. Next slide, please. So one exciting bill that was passed in June of last year is SB 54, and this is the Plastic Pollution Prevention and Packaging Producer Responsibility Act. So that's a long one. Essentially, what that means is by 2032, 100% of packaging in the state will have to be recyclable or compostable. 25% in reduction in plastic packaging. And then lastly, 65% of single-use plastic packaging has to be able to be recycled. This is something that Recology really stood behind. This is an article in the San Francisco Chronicle, as well as our former CEO, Mike Sangiacomo, who testified in the Congress to back SB 54 and how Recology, supports legislation that shifts that responsibility on the consumer to the plastic industry to ensure they're putting out products that can actually be recycled. Next slide. So compost, this one is by far my favorite program. It's a diversion program. It's a closed loop cycle. This is where we really fall short with plastics, where plastic is not a closed loop cycle when you recycle it. Compost, you get your food, you put it into the green bin, it gets placed back to the soil to provide more nutritious food. So, and aside from that, composting has so many environmental benefits, carbon sequestration, first and foremost. It is able to pull carbon out of the atmosphere and bring it back to feed the root system and apply life back to our topsoils. it has water retention, reduces the need to have to do chemical fertilizers, and the list goes on. So I know there's so much that I can talk about here. I'm trying to keep it as brief as possible, but we could really talk into great lengths on all of this. So one important point to hit on with compost in the next slide would be a lot of the greenwashing that's taking place. So next slide, please. Thanks. So there's a lot of confusion out there about compostable plastic. So let me just say, if it looks like plastic, it feels like plastic, it's plastic, don't put it in the compost bin. It's only end as litter in the final product. An alternative would be your fiber-based products. It's great that the Office of Sustainability has put out an ordinance, the foodware ordinance, where it's requiring the food service industry to provide to-go-ware that's fiber-based. So that way it could be truly composted. So next slide, please. Senate Bill 1383, another really important piece of legislation that's going to help us get to waste zero. 40% of what's thrown away in the state of California is organic material, and 6 million tons of that is food waste. So this piece of legislation is going after reducing by 75% of disposed or organic material to be diverted into an organics program, and then recovering 20% of edible food to give those back to our local food banks. So hopefully much of you are familiar with SB 1383. Ultimately, it's really going to drive getting organic materials out of the landfill and into a compost program. Next slide. So for here at Recology San Mateo County, and let me specify that we provide service from Burlingame down to East Palo Alto, and this is strictly what we collect. So we're right around 50% diversion. We've made progress. We know we can do better, especially knowing that 40% of what Californians throw away is organic material. And we have a composting program in place that can capture this material. So we really need to take advantage of that. One exciting thing that I saw the other day is looking at our tonnage numbers for 2022 in our commercial sector. So that would be our businesses and our apartments and condos, have increased by 5,000 tons of organic material that we are now recovering. And the landfill waste that's coming from our apartments and condos had a reduction in volume. So that was just really fulfilling to see. Our Waste Zero team is working really hard on implementing more and more composting programs. And then with SB 1383, it's just validating all of those efforts that are happening. Next slide. So what's left? Plastic films, single-use products, gloves, masks, black plastic, styrofoam, another nasty product that you want to stay away from. Mixed materials, so aseptic containers, juice boxes, that belongs into the garbage. Remember, the garbage is never sorted, so these materials too that you're having to throw away, you really want to think twice about purchasing that product, which kind of ties into the next slide. We're rounding things out now. It's the Waste Zero hierarchy. Essentially, I feel as though oftentimes when you say the Waste Zero hierarchy, the Waste Zero lifestyle, it gives the illusion of the absence of something. And I really like to look at this more of like a conscious lifestyle. It's thinking twice before you purchase something, asking yourself, do I need this or do I want this? And then choosing where you spend your money, rather than going to a grocery store, you can go to our local farmers market and you're going to eliminate so much plastics, and then you're going to be supporting our local farms and then getting more nutritious food for you and your family. Recycling, as we've said, is towards the bottom. We really can't recycle our way out of this. It's going to take us turning off the tap, right? We need to stop beforehand. And it really comes down to being a wise consumer. So next slide, please. So we always love this slide. Your voice matters. It's a great example of how you can leverage your voting rights through what it is that you will and will not purchase, right? Here we have somebody that tweeted Whole Foods, if only nature would find a way to cover these oranges so we didn't need to waste so much plastic on them, right? And then, but they responded, and they stating that definitely our mistake. These have been pulled, we hear you, and we will leave them in their natural packaging to peel. So here's just a great example of how we can leverage our voting power through what it is that we purchase. So yeah, that's always a favorite. And then I think that's pretty much it. So I apologize for kind of running through everything really quickly. Here's some information on how you can get a hold of me. Whatbin.com is great if you're ever confused on maybe what material that you have and what bin it belongs into. It's a great search engine that's mobile friendly as well. And then of course, we're always putting out fun tidbits on our social media. And I'll just kind of leave it with this. And this is something that my coworkers always said, and I found it just put it perfectly. And it's not about perfection, it's about progress and doing what you can to inspire others. So thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Mia. And I'm just looking, it's 6:15 and we do have a surprise guest. We have lots of questions too that we're going to get to, but I want to invite our surprise speaker, Laura Porter, the owner of Bird's Filling Station in San Mateo. It's the peninsula's only zero waste grocery store. And Laura, can you just say a few words about that?
Hi, Kirsten. Sure. Thanks for having me, and thanks for letting me pop in on a surprise visit here. I was seeing happy hour on my calendar, and I thought, I don't have time for a happy hour. And then I saw it said Race to Zero Waste, and I went, oh wait, I love talking trash. Okay, we're going to happy hour. So Bird's Filling Station opened in 2019. I know some of you have been around since our farmers market days where we were doing refill laundry, but we were able to open a brick and mortar store and expand to full groceries in May of last year. So we're getting close to hitting our 1-year anniversary. And actually I'm sitting here in the store right now as we're closing up for the day. But really the inspiration for this store came from looking around at what was going on. It was looking at all of the wonderful stuff Lillian talked about policy and how that was moving, and what Mia's talking about the education and plastics and composting and how do we get people to understand exactly what's going on. But seeing that there was a big void in the area of customers having an immediate way to take action, right? Policy takes a long time. Education takes a long time, and it can be confusing when markets shift and we might not be able to recycle plastics anymore. So it was really about developing a way that we could let customers choose immediately. How can we refill? How can we get away from all the waste that you have when you go shop at a regular grocery store? So our whole store was designed around that. And I see a lot of familiar faces on this call, and thank you for all of your support over time. And
Laura, just a quick question for those who haven't come yet. Do they just bring their own bottle of laundry detergent that's empty?
Yeah, you're encouraged to bring whatever you have that you want to keep in the landfill. I mean, if you want to fill a Coke bottle with dish soap, we're not going to judge. We're just going to help show you where the dish soap is. Great.
Good. Well, congratulations. And I wish you great success with this as well.
Excellent.
So I know I'm looking in our chat and I'm going to pull out a couple of questions. I think one, I'm not sure who wants to answer this, but Lillian, maybe about Ox Mountain. That was one of our trivia questions, and the filling up in 11 to 20 years. So Lillian, what's going to happen? Are we going to see our rates increase? Do people need to start recycling more? What do we need to do?
Hang on a second here.
Certainly.
I'm trying to get my video back on again. I'm becoming challenged by this.
I understand.
So anyway, so it fluctuates, right? They get better at compacting at Ox. They use different materials for cover. So right now, we're between, 17 and 20 years to capacity. Once we reach capacity, we will have to determine where our waste is going to go as a county. And actually year 15, when we get to that point, if we have 15 years capacity left, we'll have to come up with a plan on where this county's waste is going to go. In most cases, it'll be railed somewhere else. And the way it works in the state of California, we had some legislation passed a number of years ago where waste can go to any landfill in the state of California. There's no restriction. So say San Benito County, they can't restrict their landfill to Benito County because of the legislation. Fiona Ma, I think, sponsored it. And it all had to do with where San Francisco's garbage was going, right?
Yeah, I think one of the things we can all think about is trying to shop by using less products, like what
Correct.
talked about too. And
Yeah.
then I thank you for that. And I'm going to go on to a couple of other questions. Peter, are you available or are you helping fix something? If you are available and you can hear me, people do want to understand how they can find the Fix It videos on Discord. And maybe you can just talk about how simple it is to do that. And Peter, I know his, I think he's offline. So I'm going to move on and come back to Peter. I
might be able to answer some of
these
questions.
He said,
Yep,
follow the
and I'm back.
instructions.
Okay.
Google Doc,
There-
join the Discord Global Fixers. And
Oh
so he's
yeah,
put-
I put in the chat, there's a link to a detailed form for those of us who are not digitally native, like those young adults and teens. There's a form, a detailed form I put in on how to sign up for Discord and how to get on board, and open a ticket for your item. And then, people from around the world will ask you questions about it. And then as you need to, we can come to an in-person event and help you with it as well.
Terrific. Thank you. And I'm just looking through here. I know there were some questions also from Mia about recology and how, you gave a pretty detailed example, like what we need to be doing is really following the rules about recycling, which are so confusing. And so when you put the arrows chasing arrows, yeah, we all see that. And we all think, well, that's recyclable. So it feels like there probably needs to be some changes in that to actually make it easier to identify what is recyclable, what is not.
Yeah, and I think SB 54 will really help with that. I mean, granted, it's a bit ways out, but that will help stop the market with being flooded with so many different types of plastic that can't be recycled. And that's where we struggle, is having so many different types of plastic and then having to get each specific type of plastic placed back into its original commodity for it to be recycled.
Mhm.
And then it also is, they tend to be low quality plastics. Therefore, they really don't have another useful life to be remanufactured into something else. So that's why really sticking with plastic containers, so your laundry detergent, shampoo bottles, soda bottles, those tend to be plastic numbered 1 and 2, and those have a higher recovery value
Mhm.
because it's a stronger integrity type of plastic that can be recycled.
Good to know.
What bin 2 is a great resource. Just you plug in whatever product you're trying to recycle, and then it will tell you what bin it belongs in.
Okay. And just so everybody knows, I see a couple of chats where people have toured the Recology recycling center. And I remember doing that too when you first opened, and it was fascinating to see. And the funny, there are humans in there pulling things out because we're doing that single bin. And then somebody had a question, why isn't South San Francisco, I think, doing that for Recology? Do you have an answer for that? Or
Yeah, I can answer that. So
Sure.
every hauler has, these items are brokered. They're brought to the recyclery, they're baled, and then they're sold. So South San Francisco is probably selling their commodity to a different broker who's using it in different ways. Believe it or not, the more separated it is, the higher the value is, because there's less contamination on it. You don't have wet paper, you don't have Pepsi on the paper, you don't have, so you do want the cleanest commodity that you can in order to repurpose it into the same thing that it was. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. And then,
Mhm.
Ridwell, it's in the chats as well. Ridwell just came into our county. I remember visiting a friend up in Seattle last August, and she had a Ridwell bin on their porch. And so do every Seattleite in the neighborhood. But we finally got that here too, to recycle things that are not being recycled at Recology, for example. So you can, probably a lot of you have received emails about that. If not, you can Google Ridwell in San Mateo County, because they're now here. And then Mia, Christine asked, what are some of your issues with regard to the EV fleet? How can you get your EV fleet going more quickly?
Yeah, so it's really just a shortfall in the technology. What we're finding in the pilot is that the collection route with an EV truck is only completing about 50% on what our traditional biodiesel truck can service. So if you take that into consideration, that's really looking at, okay, we're going to need double the amount of trucks. So that has a high cost, nor like, where are we going to put all of these trucks? And so what I'm hearing is it's just the technology is not quite there, but we're eager to be able to get the opportunity to implement an EV fleet once that technology becomes viable for us to use. Okay,
good, thank you. And I'm going to kind of quickly go through these as we run out of time here. Mia, Lillian, can you address clamshells and are things, or Mia or Lillian, and are things labeled 5 actually recycled anywhere?
There's so many variations on the clamshell. Again, you're going to have to look at the number on the bottom of it, to determine whether or not it's recyclable. Like Mia said,
you can put
it's the 1 and 2 and 4.
Well, the 5 too. You go ahead and put the 5 in the recycling container. What I've learned is that the market for 5s are a little wishy-washy. Sometimes it's stronger than others. So that's why we do ask to go ahead and put it into the to put it into your recycling.
Okay.
Yeah, just no soft plastics or plastic films going into the recycling, or black plastic. Stay away from those.
And then for Peter, if you are here, and I wanted to ask you, can you talk about design for the environment's role, especially in regard to packaging?
Wow, packaging's a tough one.
Yeah.
Gee, every time I see a flat screen TV show up at Christmas, I wish that Best Buy just had a stock of those boxes and they delivered the TV to your house and then put it back, and so as long as we have this global supply chain, it's going to be hard to crack. However, there is a separate initiative, especially with what the president's passed in terms of the various, Inflation Reduction Act, and this whole idea, we want to see our future being hyper local, where most things that we consume are designed, built, serviced, and maintained in a local service area using locally available tools, materials, processes, and services. And so if we get to a place like that, imagine that the next time you buy a toaster or flat screen TV, when you press buy, it doesn't come from China, but instead a digital file is propagated through Northern California, where these micro factories, make all the different constituent parts of it, and then it's shipped to you, and it's all designed to be taken apart in Northern California as well. And so that at some point, if a part breaks, you have the digital file for that part, and then you can basically send that off to the microfactory to be remade, you snap it in, and you're good to go again. So we could essentially have things that last forever if we had a model like that. I realize we're a long ways from that, but then that would sort of circumvent the whole packaging aspect.
Okay. And then just kind of a little bit along those lines, somebody was saying, Elaine Salinger asked, when we go to a restaurant that's using plastic for takeout, for example, aside from asking them to switch, is there something else we can or should do?
Well, if they're a city that's has adopted our ordinance, and some cities have adopted our ordinance. You can look on our website to see which cities they are. You can let us know, and we'll actually send someone out to the business
Okay. And I guess
to talk to them about.
if you're in a city, I'm just saying this globally, if you're in a city that hasn't adopted it yet, the county resolution, then it would be good to lobby your city council to do so. And you could maybe start with the Environmental Quality Commission if your city one, and then move on to city council to get that adopted, because I think most cities have adopted it. So those are a couple of outliers. I'm still going down. I see 15 new messages I haven't even gotten to yet. Daisy name. Let's see. Mia, hopefully the tech for replacing your, oh yeah, that's the EV. We talked about that. Does Ridwell actually do better than existing places to recycle? Ridwell is new in our county, and so I'm hoping that they are able to recycle a lot of things that are not traditionally being recycled. Okay.
So having spoken to Ridwell on that just really quickly, they do sell their plastic Trex, which is the same place that Safeway generally sells theirs. The difference with Safeway or with Ridwell is that they take out that store-made component, sometimes can get in the way of plastic actually making it down the pike, but it should in theory all go to the same place.
Okay, great. I'm just scrolling through here. Let's see. Yeah, and we have like 2 more minutes. We always love to respect everybody's time. I'm looking at different things. Recology should consider hydrogen trucks. I don't know if Recology is considering that or not. Let's see. Rethink Waste is in here, foodware program. What can we do about a large company like Kaiser Hospital that ships all their meds in non-recyclable plastics? Anybody want?
Yeah, I'll answer that. So just to let you know, the healthcare industry has their own, sustainability organization. They're all working closely to try to reduce the plastics that they're generating. So, sterilization is another issue for them, right?
Right.
But they are working towards that they have their own organization that's focusing on that effort.
Okay, thank you. Well, what a fascinating topic. I know, there's so many things we didn't touch, but we had an hour and it is all food for thought. If you have other questions, we can hopefully answer them. And then Christine wrote in here too, if you want to attend our awards ceremony, which we're live again after a couple of years now, please reach out to us at Sustainable San Mateo County so that we can hopefully try and find a seat for you. But I want to thank all of our speakers tonight. We love having you. We started this during the pandemic as a way to keep people engaged in these issues and just to have a communication and discussion with each other. So thank you. Christine, do you want to close?
So thank you again, everybody, for coming. I think we had some fabulous speakers. I mean, even Laura, thank you for being game to be put on the spot. We hope to see you at some of our future events, and please do let us know. I mean, if you have ideas for future events, we want to hear from you. And with that, have a good night and a nice rest of your week.